YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Welcome to my review for Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger episode 39. So this episode is something of which I say a lot, which is your classic Zenkaiger Fair, where you have kind of a filler plot and a main plot going on at the same time. And basically it was like the Rangers were more so handling the filler stuff while the villains were doing the plot stuff. It kind of in a way reminded me of when I'm talking about some Neo Saban seasons, when near the end of the season, the Rangers are still doing a plot of the week while the villains clearly know we're in the end game. We're still a little bit farther away from the end game, but that's kind of what it reminded me of to a degree. But it made for a pretty decent episode. I mean, basically the Rangers plot of the week stuff revolved around them doing a New Year's episode before New Year's, because the monster of the week power is to make it so that they keep celebrating New Year's and wanting a fresh start. So that's what's happening to them all throughout the episode, is every time they go to fight, they just get reset to celebrating New Year's, and then at the end they have fun with it and they do this whole like fun themed battle where they're all decked out in silly gear and they summon fun Sentai like not Navi's like, hey, use Choryuger because they were a fun Sentai, and then they use Gokaiger because they make a show of it. And then the coolest one I think was just when they did the Zenroku summon and they summoned like red and white ninja samurai rangers, only because the color scheme looked really cool of like the red and white and then Zenkaiger in the middle. It just was a really neat little color pattern, and those, as much as I hate that, they stood next to each other. The suits looked good next to each other just because I thought it was a unique color setup, which I thought was cool. But we had yet another reuse of that same Mandarin monster or whatever. The main plot stuff had to do with the villains, because you had Stacy sort of picking up from last week, and he's wondering where Hawkaiser is, and the big boss guy's like, don't worry about that, we got something in the works, just continue to do your work. But then evil Navi, notice the pattern to the characters, not Navi, evil Navi, all the other characters' names are also not Navi. Evil Navi's then like, if you want to really know what's going on, I'll show you. And then Tank Guy is watching that from the shadows being like, he's acting differently around him for some reason. So there's kind of some setup stuff going on with the villains in the background more, which is going to be leading to the end of the episode. And then of course we have to repeat that same exact character beat we do with Stacy every week, where he shows up and they're like, oh, Stacy, thanks for last time. He's like, don't think anything of it. I'm still a villain. This is the 14th time we've done this. So he's fighting them a little bit at the end as well. So that was a little bit annoying. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself about that, but the show is repeating itself with that same thing again. And then when we have the Mecha Fight, we do a little bit unique stuff. We don't summon up the full Zenroku format CGI thing. We just summon up the plane so that it can blast them out of captivity, and then we get kind of a neat shot of all of the mecha, or not all of them, but the mecha that are out kind of firing the cannon like they would on the ground, which was kind of neat. So we get our fun, unique little Mecha Fight. But the exciting thing about the episode is that it's kind of like this build-up episode to a degree. I mean, you have the fun stuff going on with the Rangers, and then the villain stuff brewing in the background, but then at the end of the episode you get a cliffhanger where this new kaiju Hawkaiser robot shows up at the very end. Kind of reminiscent of the way they've done that with Stacy a couple times again, but it was still a good cliffhanger, and the robot looks freaking cool. Like, I kind of hope they do a premium Bandai release of this if they do the Stacy one as well, but this one just looked really neat, and it was a good place to leave the episode on, because I thought, oh, this is a pretty good episode. I mean, the stuff with the New Year's was kind of entertaining. You know, I think the funniest part for me was at the beginning when they're celebrating and they get interrupted, and they're all coming up to the monster and getting mad at him for interrupting them, and they're like, you interrupted my dance number, and there was some funny stuff like that. So like, that was your standard fun fair, but then the villain stuff kind of built up, and then at the end you end on a nice cliffhanger that gets you excited to watch the next episode. And I also thought it was kind of fun, funny, and unique to have the episode be like a New Year's episode before Christmas. I thought that was kind of fun. So yeah, it was overall, I think, a decent-ish episode. Nothing too spectacular, but your par for the course Zenkaiger stuff, I would give it a 3 out of 5. But what did you guys think of this episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications for my videos. Dawson Rider, signing out.